David Benavidez and Demetrius Andrade are in the process of finalizing a deal for a super middleweight fight on pay-per-view in the fall, Las Vegas, sources told ESPN. Intriguing showdown for one of boxing's best talents who's coming off a career best win in the decision over Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. And finally, a big fight for Andrade, who has long deserved one. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. You heard it. ESPN is reporting. This is the second outlet that has reported this. I've also talked about it, but before that, the first person I heard was Dan Raphael, and then you now have ESPN basically corroborating it, saying Showtime pay-per-view, a fight between Boo Boo Andrade and David Benavidez. Now, my thoughts, I love it all across the board. Just like the ESPN tweet, Andrade has been stalled out and not given fights. I've used my channel, my voice, my influence, my platform to advocate for Andrade to get a big fight. Guys like Canelo Alvarez, who he called out, guys like Triple G, Gennady Golovkin.
Had no guys had Max's guys is big drama.
To no avail. Those guys didn't give him the opportunity. Now you're seeing the new blood, younger fighter, David Benavidez, who's clearly up for it. Now, there was talks at one point after the Caleb Plant victory for Benavidez to possibly fight against David Morrell, which I actually like this fight. And I was sad when I heard that that fight doesn't look like it was going to come into fruition. But this is a great fight in lieu of the Morrell fight not happening. And some people would even like this fight better because Benavidez is off of a hot win, and Andrade, he moved up to super middleweight. So this is only his second fight in the division. And he's a talented southpaw who's older versus like the David Morrell fight. You could put Morrell with the winner of this. So I think it kind of plays out better this way. We want to see Andrade against a top name. And now Boo Boo's getting that with a guy like David Benavidez. So I really like it. I think I have a couple different thoughts. For one, I love the fight all across the board. I'll definitely support the fight. I think this also makes Canelo Alvarez look bad. Canelo, instead of fighting Benavidez when the world was calling for that fight, Mr. I was born ready, Canelo Alvarez instead decides to bring up a guy 14 pounds, 2 weight classes underneath him, not even fight Big Charlo, because he got some stuff going on, but fight a guy who's undisputed at 154, bringing him to 168, when the top fight that I've seen the fans clamor for Canelo Alvarez is against David Benavidez. But he's chosen what he's chosen, and then now Benavidez shows you he's keeping the engine hot and keeping the ball rolling after the Plant, which was a grudge match, a rivalry type of fight. He's on to another great pay-per-view and another great fight. So I got to give a lot of props to David Benavidez. Again, I felt a type of way when the Morrell fight was not coming off, but you can easily match the winner with David Morrell and let Morrell, continue building and doing what he's been doing. So I really like it. Another reason this looks bad for Canelo is Canelo has been in 3 shared divisions with Demetrius Andrade, and to no avail. 154, 160, and now 168. Canelo hasn't chosen either of these guys. Benavidez, as I just mentioned, or Boo Boo Andrade. So I think that's another thing that goes against Canelo Alvarez is basically this main event were 2 guys that the world of boxing wanted to see you fight, and for whatever reason you never made those fights a reality, and now they're fighting each other in a sensational fight where again you're bringing up a guy who's never even fought higher than 160 in Jermell Charlo. So it just shows you the type of energy that they're on. And Canelo is the undisputed champion in the weight class, and you got former champions from this division or other divisions like Andrade, and they're given a more of a quality super middleweight fight. And that's not a knock on Jermell Charlo, but I can't rate him at super middleweight when I've never seen him fight beyond like the 154. So he's done all his business. And that's not to say he can't do well, but it's going to be a shot in the dark how he's going to do versus we've already seen Andrade make his debut at super middleweight, and we've seen his whole career, and he's had several fights at 160, like beating guys like Jason Quigley. He beat him, dropped him in the first round, stopped him in the second, if I'm not mistaken. And you got a big puncher like Edgar Berlanga at a higher weight class who went 12 rounds with Quigley. So Andrade, the big fights have eluded him, and now it's his time to get one. Now, speaking of that, I'm going to need the world of boxing to just analyze this, like Billy Crystal, analyze that, right? Demetrius Andrade spent all this time with Eddie Hearn, never got any fight, in my opinion, with the caliber and quality and the anticipation level and desire that the fans will have for this fight, Benavidez versus Andrade. None of his fights on DAZN were like this. The DAZN curse strikes again. None of them were anticipated. He was fighting Lucas Peelers and Keelers and all this type of stuff, and those weren't desired fights. In fact, his biggest fight on DAZN never happened, and that was going to be Billy Joe Saunders. That was a cool fight for the moment, but Billy Joe Saunders failed a drug test, and they never rescheduled that fight, even when Billy Joe Saunders later signed to Eddie Hearn. So the point I'm making is PBC got it going on, Showtime. They got it lit. They got the 2023 year of boxing absolutely cracking. And it's funny to me that Andrade teams up with Al Heyman, and within his second fight, he's having a pay-per-view that people will actually buy and a fight that's actually desired and sought after. Same thing with Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford spent all this time with Top Rank, 10, 11 years with Top Rank, and he's now off his best and biggest win over Errol Spence Jr., doing more of a victory lap than I've ever seen. Like when Crawford beat guys like Mean Machine and when he beat Amir Khan, you didn't see him on Hot 97 the next day or the next week. You didn't see him on CBS Mornings or Good Morning America and all these shows. But now Terrence Crawford teams up with Al Heyman for one fight, automatically has the biggest fight he's ever had, done the best pay-per-view numbers he's ever done, and basically having the platform to have the biggest exposure that we've ever seen Crawford have. So I think that's something to note, that guys like Andrade, guys like Crawford team up with Al Heyman and they start getting in more desired fights. Same thing happened with Pacquiao. Pacquiao, the end of his career with Top Rank, he was fighting Jesse Vargas in the third Bradley fight, Jeff Horn, fights that no one really wanted to see at those times. Teams up with Al Heyman, he fights Broner, which was a big fight for its year. He fight Keith Thurman, and then he was supposed to fight Errol Spence, who pulled out with the injury, and he fought Yordenis Ugas. So, levels, PBC, Showtime, absolutely killing. Love the fight. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'm the best in the business. That ain't gonna change, and it's like that.